荣幸请来的是多伦多顶级男子走读私校 Crescent School。那么这所学校的大招官 Mr. David Shaw 今天也是加班做客我们瑞私学的瑞讲座。那么同时呢，今天我们瑞私学的几位老师，我们 Sherry 老师，我们 Joy 老师，还有我们的 Carrie 老师都也在现场。那么欢迎大家，如果有任何问题的话呢，都可以在这个 Q&A 的这个下面的这个栏目的大家放到最右边可以去提问。那么到时候您提的问题呢，我们会把它进行一个分类整理争取呢能够在今天晚上由Mr. Shaw 来为大家一一解答。同时呢，也欢迎大家就是在微信上面给我们瑞私学的老师提问我们也可以帮助大家把自己的问题呢传达到招生官这里。好的，接下来我们就有请Mr. Shaw 来开启他的讲座。Please, Dave.
Thanks so much, Maggie. I really appreciate it. And good morning. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Dave Shaw, as Maggie said. I'm the Director of Enrollment and Financial Aid at Crescent School. I couldn't be more thrilled to be able to be chatting with all of you. And on behalf of 160 staff, 550 parents, 780 boys, and 2,700 alumni all over the world, I want to welcome you to Crescent. And I just want to acknowledge that many of you are here today for very different reasons. Some of you may be concerned about your son. Some of you are concerned about your son's current education in school. Some of you are thinking about educating him to be the best boy man in the world. And so I just want to say, regardless of why you're here today, our mission is rooted in your concerns. We believe in the promise of boys. And when we say promise, we mean possibility. We believe that the world needs men of character more than ever. And what we mean by character, when we say character, we mean moral character, performance character, and civic character. Our vision is based on an enduring hope we have for boys and men in the world to be people of character, partners, and leaders in service of others. Our values guide what we ask of our boys, staff, and parents. The expectation is not that you are to be perfect in practicing these values, but to be courageous in living them each day. Founded in 1913 as a kinder, gentler place in a one-room schoolhouse, moved to Dentonia Park in 1933, then Bayview in 1970, and now again, we are expanding with our recent purchase of the Rumble property immediately to the north. I welcome you to Crescent. Thanks, Maggie.
Very amazing opening speech, Dave. Yeah. 因为我知道我们所有我们很多参加这次讲座的家长朋友们，其实你们的听力都没有很大的问题为了能够让 Mr. Shaw 给大家更多有价值的信息，我呢会在今天的翻译的这个过程当中呢，尽量的给大家翻译一些重点，也就是包括我们瑞私学在帮助所有的家庭申请 Crescent School 的过程当中我们体会到的，以及我们已经在 Crescent 的学校里的学生体会到的这个学校的一些最重要的特色。那么刚才呢Mr. Shaw 跟大家讲了学校的就是人数规模大小，那么最值得一提的就是最近学校刚刚得到校友的非常巨大的一笔捐赠，应该是建校以来最大的一笔捐赠，把学校边上的一栋楼，应该是一个就是聋哑中心，把它收购下来。那么现在呢，这栋楼呢会将在不久之后未来的3-5年之内吧，能够让 Crescent 在基础设施方面有一个巨大的飞跃和突破。那么具体这栋楼会用来做什么呢？我们还要期待 Crescent 的这个董事会还有他们的这个领导 层的一个高瞻远瞩的未来的一个规划啊，我们都是可以能够看到的。那么 Crescent School 它的一个最大的特点就是性格养成的教育啊，我们经常跟家长们讲，就是在加拿大整个教育体系里啊，不管是公立还是私立，尤其是对于初中和小学阶段的孩子的最重要的一个就是能力的养成在于性格和习惯。那么 Crescent 在他的教育理念当中，把这个性格的力量呢放在了3个就是习惯和3个性格核心能力方面，一个就是学术性格和学术习惯，包括你的阅读啊、写作啊，还有包括你怎么去跟老师沟通和交流，怎么样特别好的能够跟不同角色学校的老师进行集体的或者是1对1的这种沟通和互相了解。那么第2种呢，就是我们说的公民素质教育。你作为一个就是加拿大的公民，你作为学校里面的一个成员，你作为班级里的一个成员，你怎么样找到自身最有特色的地方，然后让你的特色去像就是温暖的阳光一样把自己变成一道光，让边上的同学跟你一起变得更好。这个是他们的第2个，就是公民意识的培养，包括慈善的意识，还有尽自己的所能去帮助别人的这种能力和习惯。第3个呢，就是我们说的道德品质，包括你的责任心你是不是就是说作为一个人，你能够拥有让自己幸福的能力，因为如果你连这个能力都没有，谈何去帮助别人？怎么样让自己能够始终在困境当中保持一个正能量这些都是Crescent 在培养孩子的过程当中强调的一个核心词，就是承诺 promise。 那这个 promise 的词呢，其实并不是说你来到我 Crescent 之后我就一定能够让你变成这样人，而是你来到我 Crescent 以后，我让你有无限的可能，我让你做最好的自己。 Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Maggie. Listen, if you remember only 2 things about the Crescent education in terms of academics, I want you to remember C and C, challenging and customized. And at Crescent, we believe that the world is not standardized, so education should not be either. One key feature of a Crescent experience is that we want your boys to be challenged, and we want them to be able to customize their academic experience. Our academic program is very demanding. It includes enriched and accelerated courses in grade 8 through grade 10 and advanced placement courses in the senior grades. While it's rigorous, our boys and parents appreciate the fact that there is no rigid and prescribed pathway through the school. They can choose courses and programs that align with their interests and passions. For instance, if a boy wants to take grade 10 math in grade 9, he can do that. If he wants to take grade 10 enriched math in grade 9, he can do that. If he has a passion for the arts, he can take drama or music or visual art from grades 9 through to grade 12. If he wants to load up on first-year university credits by taking AP courses in subjects like economics, computer science, chemistry, physics, biology, calculus, English, French, he can do that too. That's just the curricular experience. Our students also participate in athletics, arts, service learning, robotics, and business, and other curricular activities that require significant time and commitment. When you add it all up, Crescent students will be busy, and they will deal with stress and challenge. We don't view that as a negative. As the Olympian Haley Wickenheiser told our boys in an assembly, pressure is privilege. The demands of our program are what helps prepare our boys for the rigors of university in top-tier programs. So we don't shy away from pressure. We don't lower the bar, but we do up the level of support. Thanks, Maggie.
Yeah, Thank you. 所以大家可以看到这张就是 slide 上面的两个核心词，一个叫 challenge， 一个叫 customized。那么 challenge 呢，就是 Crescent 整个课程当中为不同能力的学生设定了不同能力的挑战。可以说，你如果说不管是在申请 Crescent 过程当中，还是在就读 Crescent 的过程当中，你都会发现全校学生的整体水平是非常高的。也就是说，他们在进入到 Crescent 这个集体当中的时候，每个孩子都有自己的强项，每个孩子都有自己的优点和特长，无论是性格、学业还是课外活动。那么学校呢，能够有这个实力，能够有这个平台，给他们创造各种各样的机会，让他们在自己的特长上面能够得到足够的挑战，就是把难度，把这个就是他们可以去突破、去超越自己的这个标准提到最高。同时呢，也给他们个性化的方案设计和支持。那么在这个过程当中呢 ，Mr. Shaw 特别强调了，就是说大家一定要明白，在 Crescent 的教育理念里面，压力是一种特权。我特别想再重复一遍，压力是特权，什么意思呢？也就是说，压力它绝对不是坏事。坏的是你对待压力的方式如果错误，你非但不能让孩子们尤其是我们一些青春期的男孩子们去接受挑战，反而让他们惧怕失败惧怕挑战去做一些就是放弃也好，退缩也好，甚至我们都有这种经验，就是家里的亲子关系搞得非常的僵在这种情况下呢，学校是提倡怎么样教会男孩子们去把自己的就是能力的这个可以达到的标准拿到最高，老师去鼓励他去最高难度去挑战自己，然后把压力呢看为一种进步的机会，压力是一种特权。在这个基础上，老师们把自己的对他们的支持度去提高，用来缩小这个压力和他的能力之间的差距。那么因此 Crescent 所有的教职员工、老师，包括他们的课程设置，都能够在全方位的这个去帮助男孩子们，就是给他们一个大力的支持，这样呢，他们即使摔下来也不会很疼，即使失败也不会产生特别无助的这种失望感。那么他们的学校的课程，除了我们安省的高中教育课程之外，还有他们的这个AP 课程他们的 AP 课程呢，也是有各种各样的文理都兼容的一些 AP 课程的选项，还有包括一些第二语言的一些选择，都是很丰富的。Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Maggie. All right. I want to talk a little bit about our co-curricular program along with this concept of relevant and future-ready curriculum. Our boys need an education that is relevant for today and ready for tomorrow. That starts with equipping them with the knowledge that they need to succeed. We want boys to learn accounting, but we also want them to develop an entrepreneurial mindset. We want them to embrace diversity and be confident in engaging with people who have had very different life experiences. We want them to understand the importance of hard work, but we also want them to understand how to nurture their personal health and well-being. We want them to recognize the importance of giving back to their communities and doing work that matters. We don't want them to be the wealthiest person in the cemetery. How do we ensure that all of these things happen? First, a Crescent education balances traditional subjects like science, math, English, and history with modern ones. Here are some examples of modern content areas that we are prioritizing at Crescent. I'll give you an example. One of our major assignments in our grade 12 technology design class involves working in collaboration with Sunnyview School. Sunnyview is a school for students with high physical and health needs. Our students spend time with the Sunnyview students to learn about the challenges and limitations that they face. And then they go away and they develop a technology-focused solution to help them in some way overcome the challenge. Here's an example. There was one girl who had very great difficulty in manipulating objects. It made it difficult for her to do a number of things, including playing with toys. The boys went away and came up with a great solution. It involved a toy car racetrack. You know the ones where you have a trigger system. Pull the trigger, the car moves, release the trigger, and it stops. The boys modified by replacing the trigger with a motion-activated sensor. The child could put her hand over the sensor to make the car move and take it off to make it stop. It was a small thing, but you should have seen the smile on that girl's face. Next, we recognize that a modern and relevant academic program must go beyond knowledge. That's where our character-infused learning model comes to play. And I can assure you, no one questioned the relevance of that learning experience, learning about technology and engineering while having an impact on the lives of others. That's the Crescent difference. Sometimes it's said, it's not what you know, it's who you know. But I prefer it's not only what you know, but it's what you do with what you know. And that comes to our portrait of our graduate. It's composed of 6 essential character qualities that we are embedding throughout our curricular and our co-curricular programs. We want all our boys to brush up against these character qualities over and over and over their time throughout the school, to be self-aware, to be a critical thinker, to be a positive leader. So when a boy stands up on stage on graduation day, he can confidently say that he understands and has been exposed to experiences that have helped develop these character qualities in him. Our character-infused learning model has been developed in partnership with the Center for Curriculum Redesign out of Harvard University. They are supporting us in ensuring that this important work and the decisions we are making are grounded in research. Again, these essential character qualities are embedded not only in the curriculum, but also in our co-curriculum. Thanks, Maggie.
Okay. So, 刚才大家可以看到 Crescent 整个教学理念呢，它是把今天学到的知识怎么样用到明天的实际的生活中和未来的职业，以及就是你为整个人类和社区去做出创造这过程去结合的。我这里特别就是想再补充一点的话，就是很多时候我们家长特别容易就是要去跟孩子定义他未来成功的样子，会跟他说你今天不做这个将来你会怎么样，所以你自己选吧，你要不要做。所以哪怕是有的时候孩子说他不做，我们虽然表面是答应了，但是其实脸上显示的是失望和失落。但其实这个时候我们作为家长可以有一份自己的觉醒，想一想我怎么样去赋能我的孩子，我怎么样同时照顾到我孩子的情绪，同时呢又能够明白今天我所重视的知识未来的20年30年也许他们用不到，我们怎么样能够把自己的思维去打开。这个时候呢就是在这个 Crescent 这样的学校里呢，他们在教男孩子的就是像游戏，我们男孩子家长都知道非常头痛，孩子打游戏。就像刚才 Mr. Shaw 讲到的，就是你很会打游戏，你什么都知道。那么请问你是一个纯的消费者，在消费游戏这件事情，还是说你能够用你在这份消费当中学到的东西去帮助别人？刚才讲的一个故事我觉得很感动，这样 Crescent 男孩子们会去周围的一些贫困的公校去做一些公益啊，去做一些社会调研。他们会了解到在有些公校里面有些家庭的孩子他们残疾，比方说有个小姑娘她没有办法去移动她的肌肉去玩具，一个小孩子连玩具都不能玩，是多么可怜的一件事情。所以 Crescent 男孩子就用他们的这个 technology 和他们的这个 engineer 还有包括计算机的知识，设计了一个小的一个机器人一个小的汽车玩具，他只要拉一下那个一个 trigger 一个很小的一个扳手，车就会往前，它松掉车就会往后，包括甚至他们还用了一些感应的高科技的材料，就是动一下手车子就往前，手拿开车子就停下来。那大家刚才招生官说应该看一看那个女孩子拿到这个玩具的时候她的一个笑容，虽然他们帮到的是一个女孩子，但是通过这样的事情赋能了我们所有的 Crescent 男孩子们，让他们明白，原来我今天在学校里学的东西，真的可以帮助到周围的人。我们知道现在的孩子不愁吃不愁穿，自驱力已经和我们当年完全不一样了。怎么能够让他们有自驱力？就是让他们明白，他们有帮助别人的能力，有改变别人生活，让别人去获得幸福的能力，才能够让他们真正的去克服困难，在很安逸的环境当中去挑战自己。那么像 Crescent 另外的这个课外活动就是商科，你有一个很好的 idea， 你怎么把它去宣传出去，甚至让它变成一种生产力。还有包括你很富有，那么你怎么样去合理的使用你的财富，去帮助更多的人跟你一起变得更富有啊？你有很强的学业能力，有非常大的这个课外活动的成就，但是你是否心理健康呢？你是否给周围人带来都是正能量？你的出现是让你的团队成员感到紧张、不安、焦虑，还是你的出现让大家觉得很安心啊，很温暖，有依靠的信任的感觉？那包括就是他们的男孩子，就几乎是在毕业的那一天，可以让自己就是通过每天的课外，有相较是哪一位这个 Dave sorry yeah Sherry can you mute your microphone yeah okay now it's good yeah 所以就是刚才我们讲到的，就是 Crescent 呢在整个教育理念当中会有好几个就是核心的性格养成的理念，就让男孩子们知道我是谁，我擅长什么，我怎么样去影响别人，我怎么做一个正能量的领袖，我怎么样做一个批判型的思考者，我怎么样做一个尽自己的职责的一个公民，好公民，一个能够帮助整个社区带来很多正向的温暖变化的公民。所以这个就是说他们的这个6大性格习惯的培养，就是在课内课外每一天不断的重复的渗透在各个校园和教学的环节当中，使得他们的孩子毕业的时候，所有的这些都已经成为习惯，而且是终身习惯。Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Maggie. All right. I want to talk about something that's one of the 2 pillars that we rest everything at Crescent upon. So if you imagine you build a foundation of a home, you need to put in pillars into the ground to rest everything on top of it. And the 2 pillars that we stick into the ground are health and well-being and character. And then everything else is in service of those 2 or layered on top of academic, extracurricular, etc. So I know one of the challenges in parenting in a pandemic myself is about the health and well-being of your child. And this really dovetails well with the program that we've been doing for over 5 years here at Crescent. We call it STEM 1.0. And we've trademarked that along with a former Crescent alum, Dr. Greg Wells. And STEM people think is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But STEM 1.0 at Crescent means sleep, think, eat, and move. So what do we teach the boys? Sleep soundly, think clearly, eat better, move more. Those are the 4 pillars of health and well-being. Now, what we've learned, the research has told us, you cannot just simply tell boys or lecture them that they need to get to bed, or that they should meditate, or that they need to eat healthy fruits and vegetables, or that they should exercise. We find with boys that they don't respond to being told what to do, but they do respond to being showed the research. And the research, the science is clear, and it's captivating, and it's interesting for boys. So we teach the boys about what's happening in the brain while they sleep. Why is sleep necessary? What are all the functions that are going on as they sleep that readies them for the next day? We actually know, and this is recent science, in the last 10 years. So this is not something we've known for a long time. We've suspected it, but we now know that learning takes place when you sleep. When you study, You put information into your brain, it becomes entrenched and embedded into your brain as you sleep. If you don't sleep after spending time studying, it's like water through a sieve. We know that meditation and mindfulness is an essential quality that our boys need to cultivate. So we practice it and we teach them why. Nutrition. We all know that, including Dave, needs to eat more vegetables and more fresh fruits and eat lean protein. We teach the boys why, and then we model it. And that's the food we serve in our cafeteria. And then finally, you can't have an academic program that layers on so many demands, but doesn't give time for boys to move and exercise. We as humans are built to move. And it's only in this modern era that we've stopped as a species. And we need to get back at it. And so we have, throughout the day, time for boys to move. Even during this pandemic, we've built it into our curriculum. We have breaks in the day, movement breaks. So we've got our boys practicing all of those 4 qualities: sleeping soundly, thinking clearly, eating better, and moving more. And it's about a culture change in the whole school. It's not just the students, it's the teachers, it's the staff, it's all of us. Thanks, Maggie.
OK. 所以其实在今年这一次邀请 Mr. Shaw 来做这次讲座的时候，我们瑞思学就是特地的请他能不能讲一讲，就是在疫情期间我们怎么做好自己的父母啊，因为大家知道Mr. Shaw 自己也有非常可爱的一个女儿，然后他的女儿呢也是今年的12年级的毕业生，也是经历了这个疫情期间，所以我们想请他用自己的这个教育女儿的这个经验，还有包括 Crescent 学校的老师们在教育学生怎么样去度过特别困难的这个疫情期间应该注意跟孩子的沟通和交流当中注意哪些问题。我觉得他讲的特别好，他就是把这个 Crescent School 在对 STEM 这个词的这个理解上做了另外一个层面的和角度的诠释。我们都知道 STEM 原来的意思是科学，还有科技，还有这个工程和数学的这个简称。那么在 Crescent 的教育理念当中，包括尤其在疫情期间，他们让孩子们明白 sleep 代表睡眠， T 代表思维， E 代表饮食， M 代表运动。像我们都知道，在人类过去的10年对睡眠做了很深的研究，所以 Crescent 把这一段人类的过去10年对于睡眠当中人类怎么样去进行思考，睡眠当中你的大脑会发生什么样的变化，从而对你白天的各种活动和学习会产生什么样的作用和影响，他们把这一部分新的这个生物科学、生命科学的知识渗透到自己日常的这个对男孩们的教育过程当中，让他们明白为什么睡眠对他们很重要。我想讲这一张slide 的时候，在座很多的妈妈们，你们应该会觉得对你的孩子非常重要就是真的有一种很温暖的感觉，就学校能够体会到这样的细节，去帮助你怎么样去教育自己的孩子，要注重自己的睡眠，注重自己的这个思维的方式，包括能够站在父母的角度上去替父母着想到了青春期，我们父母一而三再而三的做各种退让，那么孩子怎么样能够明白为什么他们的睡眠、他们的饮食、他们的营养是多么的重要，包括他们也会给孩子们进行一些营养学的知识的学习。大家都知道，老师说的有时候比我们父母说的要管用100倍。那么另外一个就是运动，包括他们Crescent 让我非常印象深刻的是，他们早上基本上如果你们7点半开车路过 Crescent 的时候，会发现他们的操场还有前面的这个运动场地上，很多男孩子已经开始各种运动队的训练了。他们早上是非常早的，而他们下午放学的时间都会比其他学校早半个小时，因为他们就是要培养男孩子们早睡早起多运动的这个好习惯。那么学校如果说所有的老师、所有的学生都能够日复一日的能够在这些方面做到家庭和学校能够齐头并进，能够都在同一个理念当中去执行这样的好习惯的培养，那么可想而知这些男孩们毕业的时候他们的自律以及自我管理甚至自爱的能力有多强。 Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Maggie. And so when I talked about we just don't talk at the boys, we show them the research. We also do the research ourselves. We are on the cutting edge of what's happening in education. And so a number of years ago, we started the Crescent Center for Boys Education. And we found that there just wasn't enough places. We couldn't find enough groups who were doing research just on boys. And so we decided, well, who better to do the research than us? And so what we did was we've partnered with 4 organizations so that we can do the research in parallel with them. So one is Challenge Success with Denise Pope out of Stanford. Another is Dr. Greg Wells. I mentioned him earlier. And that's about our health and well-being. He's a senior scientist in translational medicine at Hospital for Sick Children here in Toronto. Circle, Center for Innovation, Research, Creativity, and Leadership in Education. And then I talked earlier about Center for Curriculum Redesign, Dr. Charles Fidel, developing an innovative, relevant, modern curriculum, and he's out of Harvard University.
Okay.
Thanks, Maggie.
So, yeah. 大家因为这个信息我也是才知道，我们瑞思学跟这个 Crescent 办讲座真的已经好多年了，应该说应该有第4个年头了。那么像今天这一张 slide 的信息，我也是第一次看到所以就是每一次讲座真的都有每一次新的收获。像这个呢，就是叫 CCBE， 是 Crescent Center for Boys Education， 是Crescent 跟全世界最有名的几个就是研究中心，应该是北美最有名的几个科研中心进行一个合作，来一起商讨怎么样能够让男孩们的课外活动当中有更多的就是非常棒的资源不管是课内还是课外。像第一个大家可以看到 Challenge Success 是斯坦福大学的一个关于怎么样去帮助男孩子们去更好的处理挑战和成功之间关系的这么一个机构这个博士。然后呢每个机构都是有博士的这个科研带头人。那么第2个呢，就是刚才他讲到过的，在我们多伦多最有名的病童医院转化医学专业的一个高级的科学家，那么他在这个方面呢，教男孩子们，就包括辅导 Crescent 所有老师们怎么样在日常课堂当中帮助男孩们去提高对自己身心全面健康的意识的培养和习惯的培养。那么第3个呢，和第4个呢，大家都可以看到是关于创造、关于科研、关于领导力尤其是这个关于怎么样在这个课程当中将现代的科学知识和传统的知识进行一个非常好的结合和交互。Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Maggie. And I'm actually, if you forget everything that I say tonight, I want you to remember this story because I'm speaking to you as parents, and whether your sons end up at Crescent or wherever they end up, this is an important message. So I want to talk about Challenge Success out of Stanford and Dr. Denise Pope. And she used to be the Dean of Students at Stanford. And what she found was every year, the students were better and better. They were more and more amazing. Their resumes, their marks, what they did, what they created. She kept being amazed. How can these kids get better and better? And she found when they came to Stanford, they got worse and worse. And they really floundered, a lot of them. And it obviously wasn't because they weren't bright enough or they weren't prepared enough. And so it really drove her to say, what's going on here? The kids are smarter and smarter and better prepared, and yet they are not capable of facing the rigors of university. And they did a lot of research. And what they found was the main reason was this, that these students had been trained that you go to the best nursery school to get into the best elementary school, to get into the best high school, to get into the best university, to get into the best job, and that was success. And the path was very linear, and it just went up and to the right. And what we know from studying some of the most successful people who've ever lived is that their path to success has been anything but linear and up to the right. It's been up and down and up and circle and backwards and over. And the path, when you look at it, it's just a bunch of zigzags all over the place. And so when you look at the logo, you see success is upside down. And it's because we have trained our kids to expect that everything will just get better and better. And the top students, that has been their experience in life. And then they get out on their own and they have a failure. And it throws them for a loop and they cannot cope. And so what Denise Pope at Stanford said, it's too late when they get to university. We need to partner and find out what's going on in high school, what's going on in middle school, what's going on in elementary school. And so that's why we're so excited to partner with Denise, because we want our boys to be exposed to failure, to have disasters, to really flame out on whether it's a project or get cut from a team or just experience difficulty, and to have supports, but to understand that life is not just going to be a straight, easy ride. And if that's one thing I could share with you as a parent, is for you to, to say to your child when they have failures, that's okay. That's how you learn resilience. In fact, it's the only way you can learn resilience is by failing.
Yes, Dave, I can't agree more. Sailors only learn how to sail in the storms.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. I just want to talk briefly about something that had happened exciting. You may have seen this. This was the front
Dave,
page of the...
Sorry to interrupt. Can I just translate your story a little
Sure.
bit?
Yeah. Go ahead. I'll go back.
Yeah. 我觉得刚才 Dave 就是补充的那一点真的特别重要，我特别希望能够把这一段非常棒的翻译给大家听。大家可以看到 Crescent School 非常激动，因为他们跟斯坦福大学的 Dr. Denise Pope 合作这个 Challenge Success 的这个课程项目。因为就是说我们大家都发现，我们周围很多孩子事实上从小到大他们的发展是没有曲线的，是一条直线，从小去最好的幼儿园，去最好的公校，然后去最好的私校，然后去最好的高中，然后去最好的大学，永远都是一条直线。但是大家有没有想过，这样的直线当他们到了大学以后，从小学到高中的一天一天越来越好，到了大学以后变成一天一天越来越差。因为这个 Dr. Denise Pope 是斯坦福大学的学生处的主任啊，他曾经是学生处的主任。那么他看到了很多进斯坦福大学的最优秀的学生，到了大学里以后就是一蹶不振，甚至于就是说完全没有办法安排自己的很多活动，完全没有办法面对失败。那么这个时候我们需要来就是反思，并不是我们的大学教育，需要反思的是我们的这个高中教育，还有我们的这个初中教育，还有我们的小学教育。那么在我们的初高中教育当中，我们最缺失的是什么？就是怎么样教会孩子们面对失败，面对挫折，面对一些特别让他们抓狂，让他们觉得就是说很
开着门是吧？能开。
Oh my goodness 有一位家长没有关闭静音，请你关闭一下好吗？OK， 好，那么就是说，刚才Mr. Shaw 讲了这个，就是在这个所有最成功的人士的经历的这个调查当中，大家发现，任何一个成功的人士，他们的成功的路径是高高低低、迂回曲折啊。就是说是一个非常复杂的曲线，绝对不会是一个直线。所以他们希望能够跟 Dr. Denise Pope 合作，在 Crescent 这个校园里面，在老师们很多支持的情况下，去给男孩们创造一些失败的机会。我特别喜欢这个词，就是创造失败的机会。你怎么样让他们能够在平时的作业、在课外活动，还有在跟老师的沟通当中让他们有那种烧心的感觉，让他们觉得天哪，这个事情我怎么做砸了，我怎么去吸取教训我失败了，但是我不用害怕，因为有老师在帮我。但是这件事情的确能够让我终身难忘，就是我们怎么样帮他们去创造这样的学习经历，才能够让这个图标 challenge success 里面那个成功这个词，到了大学以后不会倒着写。Thank you, Dave.
All right, and I'll just close that note on a quote. I think it's attributed to Winston Churchill, but it may be apocryphal. But he said to say, "Success is going from failure to failure without losing your enthusiasm."
Oh my goodness, such a powerful statement. 刚才那个 Mr. Shaw 说了，特别想跟大家分享，就是丘吉尔啊，二战伟大的领袖。说了一句话，就说，成功就是不停的失败，在这个过程当中，永远没有失去你前进的热情。那么我也想在这里跟大家分享，我觉得特别有用的一句话，就是我们要教会的不是帮孩子遮风挡雨，而是让他们学会如何在风浪中去起舞，怎么样在暴风雨当中学会远航。
All right, and I just you may or may not be aware, this was in the front page of the Globe and Mail last week, but some exciting news to share with you about Crescent. You see this aerial photo here of Crescent. We just re-turfed our field here with the big C. I don't know, Maggie, can you see my mouse moving on the screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so the existing property lines of Crescent, you see this area here where you see the school. That's only 7 acres of what we own of a 33 acres of land. So all of this green space in behind, and many of it is cut off by the photo, we also own. So no one can develop in this ravine. Actually, we can't even develop ourselves. So, but that's beautiful. But then this property too that I'm circling now, called Bob Rumble Center, came for sale, and we acquired it for $42 million last week, and largely because of the generosity of one of our alum, Ming Wai Lau, came to Crescent for 1 year, grade 13. It so changed his life that he has given back incredibly generously. And one of the largest gifts ever to an independent school in Canada, he gave us $12 million to help us purchase the Bob Rumble Center. So we're really excited because it's going to provide lots of possibilities in the future for us, which we haven't determined what it is yet, but then we're going to own all of this land, and we'll be bordered by ravine to the north, to the south, and to the east, and by Bayview Avenue to the west. So we'll be forever protected on this property.
Yes, 我相信我们所有今天来参加这个讲座的家长们都看到了我们瑞思学的推文啊，也就是Crescent 非常著名的校友刘先生给母校捐赠的一个巨大的一个数额，那么帮助学校买下了他们这个边上的，刚才我们大家看到的就是图上左边的这块就是这栋楼这个地价值呢4200万加币，那么一共收到了就是1200万的捐赠啊。那么目前这一个楼到底用作什么用途还没有明确的决定，但是我们相信这么大的一个资源大家可以看到图上外围绿色的这个自然资源，如果把这块地能够拥有成为 Crescent School 的一个未来的一个规划的话，学校的发展可以就是真的一下子跨上很多台阶。如果今天我们来参加我们这个讲座的年轻的爸爸妈妈们，你的孩子还比较小，比方说是才4岁或者5岁我觉得你们完全可以期待自己的孩子在不久的将来，如果申请考入 Crescent School 的话，你们就可以用到就是这一块这个特别棒的资源。当然如果说您的孩子已经年纪比较高了，我觉得也可以就是继续关注 Crescent School， 也许将来孩子的孩子依然可以用到这一块资源。Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Maggie. Just a quick screen to show you the last 4 years where our boys have gone. The first column is Canadian universities. You can see then the US and overseas. Unfortunately, I do have the data for this, where this year's boys are going, but since it hasn't been shared with our board yet, I wasn't allowed to release it to you first, but I can say we have some extremely exciting news about some of the places our boys are going this year. And then maybe just sneak in that our head boy was recently accepted to Harvard University, so we're thrilled for him. But we're thrilled for all our boys. We want them, and you see the breadth of choice. We want them to go to the right university and the right program for them. And that's why you see so many different schools up on your screen. We don't think there's one great place for our boys to go study. We want them to find the best university and the best program for them that suits their talents and their desires.
大家可以看到，这个是 Crescent School 在这个过去的4年当中的大学的大家的孩子们的一个去向啊。我们可以看到，其实美国很多很多，美国的这个蓝条更长。那么加拿大呢，就是因为我们加拿大本身大学就不是很多，那么还有一些就是英国啊，我们可以看到爱尔兰啊，像这个爱尔兰的这所大学就是皇家外科学院啊，真的是很多多伦多顶尖私校的孩子们都会选择，每年我都可以看到这个学校的名字。那么可以看到，就是在美国的列表里面，大家都可以看到很大牌的大学啊，包括哈佛啊、杜克啊，还有大家都可以看到，就是叫哈耶普斯麻的都有。那么这个加拿大的大学里面呢，我们可以看到种类也是非常的多。那么这个是4年，我特别想告诉大家，就是说任何一个学校，我们在看待他们这个毕业生的这个，就是整个的这个，尤其是加拿大的这个大学和美国大学的时候，我们要搞清楚一个道理啊，就是说加拿大大学里有很多很优秀的学生，他们不是没有能力去爬藤，他们不想爬藤，他们不愿意去爬藤，他们觉得不愿意放弃自己在多伦多，在加拿大很棒的家族资源，尤其是父母如果是这个学校毕业的，很多孩子自然而然的就会到时候跟随着父母的脚印去上同一所大学，因为那里有你千金难买的人脉。Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Maggie. And then just briefly, what do our boys study? Lots of great breadth of program. You see the largest box here is engineering. So 32 out of our graduating class of 97 boys went on to study that. Next biggest box you saw is arts, social science, then business, and then all sorts of other things too, computer science, IT, 5 took a gap year, 1 studied just pure math. We had a boy do direct entry UK, so medicine, sorry. So we encourage in our boys breadth, and we want them to study, and this is really key, we want them to study what they love. And there's no best path in terms of what to study. And when we look at people who've had great success in life, they've come from all sorts of backgrounds of university program. And so we encourage the boys, study what you love, and that will inform where you should go.
Yeah. 我们来看一下这张图，我觉得这张图我特别想告诉大家的就是，我们可以看到，我们有很多家长会跟我讲说 ，Maggie Crescent School 是不是一个理科很强、文科不咋地学校啊？我今天在这里跟我们将近100位的家长们，我跟你们讲，你们仔细看一下这张图，你可以看到97个毕业生里面32个选了这个工程类，有21个选的是社会科学和文科艺术，大家可以看到。所以这个比例是很高的，因此 Crescent School 它是一个全面的教育的一个就是顶级私校的一个样子啊，千万不要说啊，它只重理科，它不重文科，不是这样的。那么还有就是我们可以看到商科有19个，仅次于这个社会科学和文科。那另外一些单个的数字，我们看到科学类的有7个啊，纯数学的有1个，还有包括这个有5个学生选择 gap year 啊，选择就是在就是那个休息1年，然后再看看自己到底想要去哪里。所以我就觉得这张图呢，大家一定要记在心里啊，千万不要说，因为你知道的几个学生，你认识的几个家长，他们的孩子都选择了某个领域，都来自同一个学校，你就认为这个学校就只会教那个了，这个是非常狭隘的一个认知学校的一个方法，一定要全面全盘的来看。 Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Maggie. So just some quick points. So if you're thinking of applying September 1st, 2021, you can go on our website and submit an online application. And the deadline is Wednesday, December 1st. And that deadline is a common deadline with many of the other schools in Toronto. So that's something to keep in mind if you're thinking of applying to other schools, which we encourage families to apply to more than one school. And then what do we look for? Well, we're going to upload report cards. You're going to do an interview. We have a teacher assessment form, and then we'll do an academic assessment, which is really math and reading and writing.
OK，所以大家来看一下，就是2022年，明年我们要入学的这个孩子，2022年9月想要入学的孩子们，你们一定要记住，你们的申请必定是今年12月1号之前一定要交的啊。那么你交了之后呢，会有这些东西需要你去做。第一个呢，要递交2年的成绩单。Dave reports 2 years, right? 2年的在校的成绩单，还有呢，就是要有面试还要有老师的推荐信推荐表，就是学校会发给你一个格式，你直接发给你的老师，务必让你的老师直接发给学校，不要经过任何人的转手因为这样就没有它的公信力了。还有就是学校有一个学术能力的测试，这个测试呢有考英语、数学，还有阅读。就这几部分。Dave, can you tell the parents what are the big entry years and smaller entry years?
Well, there's lots of big entry years. So the biggest entry years are grade 3, grade 5, grade 7, and grade 9. But we also take a substantial number of boys in grade 4 and next year in grade 6 as well. So it's really 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 9.
Wow.
We do admit some boys in 8. And we do admit some boys in 10 and 11, a handful. The only grade that we really don't accept is grade 12.
OK， 所以大家可以看到 Crescent 是3年级开始的一定就是要记住，它没有1年级和2年级，但我们希望那栋楼里面可以开1年级和2年级那么就是说，它的比较大的招生年是3、5、7、9单数那么4年级和6年级呢会招少部分的学生，但是虽然名额少，但是呢也是收新生的不像有的学校是完全不收新生。那么10年级和11年级呢也会偶尔有收1、2个学生，但是要求非常非常高，12年级是绝对一个都不收。Thank you, Dave.
All right. So I thought maybe some questions. Maybe Maggie, do you think I should stop sharing now and I can just answer some questions?
Yes. Okay. So the first, Dave, did you just close the screen share?
Do you want me to put it up again?
Yes. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. There we go.
Yeah. Can we leave it there?
Sure.
Yeah. 所以第一个问题就是我觉得就是一个家长问的，就是 Crescent 怎么样帮助这个 teenager 的 boys 来 handle 疫情期间，还有包括大学申请期间的非常巨大的学业压力。Thank you, Dave.
All right. I think I answered number 1, but I mean, what about how helping teenage boys handle academic stress, especially during COVID time? It's really focusing on those 4 STEM 1.0 principles: sleep, eat, think, and move. And so we really, we also partner with families to say, your boy should not be staying up till 2 and 3 in the morning doing schoolwork. If that is the consistent pattern in your house, then we need to have a conversation, because that's got to stop, because that's not a sustainable path for success. And we're teaching him bad habits. So we really do focus on the principles of STEM and teach the boys that more time does not mean better. You should be able to learn to work efficiently and get your work done, and spending 5 hours a night studying is not time efficient.
OK， 其实第一个问题我们刚才在前面已经有在提到了，尤其是在提到这个 parenting 就是 STEM 的这个理念的时候，那刚才呢Mr. Shaw 又 就是补充了一点，就是如果你的孩子在学校上学，会发现半夜2、3点都还在做作业，每天学习的时间超过5个小时，那事实上就是证明这样是不对的。这样是要找老师去聊，去找老师去寻求帮助的。我们应该怎么样做，让孩子呢不要一直的在这种恶性的这种生活和学习习惯当中去循环？因为你花很多时间，不代表你花的时间都是正确的啊。这种就是不利于身心健康的学习方式，学校是会出面来干预、来帮助。所以这一点说实话，也是我做了那么多学校的宣讲会啊。听到的唯一一个正面的、公开的来讲这个理念的学校。Thank you, Dave.
All right.
Yeah.
The second question is people ask, you know, about report cards and what if we have a C on a report card or some Bs? Really, the first two things we look at on a report card are attendance and lates and their learning skills. And depending on your school, you may or may not have comments on their learning skills, but the analogy I would give is, look, there's 3 traits that predicts leaders. There's skills, there's knowledge, and then there's what we'll call emotional intelligence. And skills and knowledge are what we call threshold competencies. So with the grades, what I would say is there's a threshold competency that we look for in math, in reading, and writing. Once you're above that, then more is not necessarily better. We look at other things. So I would not be overly focused on your son's grades. As long as they're good, that's good enough. Then we look at other things about him. What are his interests, etc.? What other things will he bring to Crescent? What about his emotional intelligence? You know, is he going to be empathetic and kind? What kind of a friend will he be? Those kind of things.
那么第二个问题就是我们家长们讲的成绩单上，就是 report card 上成绩啊。那么Mr. Shaw 讲得很清楚了，就是说会有一个就是基础的标准。那我觉得就是说，你的这个 C 到底在哪一门学科上啊？你在主要的学科上，你这个 C 到底是因为什么原因？老师的评语，你的平时的日常学习习惯啊，社交习惯、情绪处理的习惯，这些呢都是他要综合起来看的。那么他呢，并不是特别看重学生的分数啊，其实更看重老师的评语和你2年的进步曲线。所以在这一点上呢，就是每个学生的情况都不一样。但是呢，基本上就是说你肯定是不能出现大面积的很低的分数。Thank you, Dave. The third.
All right. We talked.
We talked about it.
We talked a little bit about that, but I did want to say one thing. About 25 to 35% of our boys are going to the U.S. or the UK.
OK， 这一题我们刚才已经有一张 slide 讲得很清楚了。这里呢 ，Dave 想再强调一点，就是说，我们每年都有25%到35%的学生选择去美国，这个比例应该在多伦多的很多顶私当中也是非常高的啊。
And I would say the reason why the majority of our boys stay in Canada is twofold. Canadian universities are outstanding, and they're far cheaper than the US and the UK.
Yeah. 就是 Mr. Shaw 也是一样，要请大家就是要注意，就是很多孩子们选择留在加拿大，并不是没有能力去美国，而是加拿大的大学教育质量很高，性价比也很高。Yeah.
And then question 4 is, you know, what are those talents that we're looking for in the application? Somebody says, I heard that team sports are better than individual sports, such as golfing or fencing. Is that true? And I would say, no, it's not true. But what we do want to see is a breadth of involvement. So if a boy, first of all, not every boy is into sports. Lots of them are. But there are lots of boys who, for sports, that's not their thing. And that's totally okay too. We're not looking for one type of boy. So boys with different interests, that's great. I would say though, if your son is a golfer and he's into fencing and he does swimming and he plays ping pong and he does tennis, he's doing all singular pursuits. So I would just encourage, if he's doing 1 or 2 singular pursuits, like golf or fencing or swimming, if you add something that's a group or a team where he needs to work with others. That's the only thing I'd suggest. However, I would also say if your son's not into sports, don't put him into sports if he doesn't want to do it, because that won't be a barrier to entry to get into Crescent.
那么第四个问题就是很多家长说我们在选择特长运动方面，要不要注意这个个体运动和团队运动的这个结合。那么刚才 Mr. Shaw 讲得很清楚了，如果孩子从事的都是个体运动，像这个高尔夫啊、击剑啊、打乒乓球啊、打网球啊，就这些相对不是大型的团队运动的话呢，完全没有关系，因为他们学校需要各种各样的人才，各种各样的技能的学生。那么因为就是说，如果你就是已经有一个很强的单项了，如果你还有时间的话，可以在其他方面参加那么1到2个团队的项目，来增加你的这个团队合作能力的培养，这个当然是可以锦上添花的。Thank you, Dave.
All right. Next question is, what advice would I give to Chinese applicants? What are common mistakes that Chinese applicants make in their application? So I would say too much focus, and this would go, I would say this for everybody, but maybe more in the Chinese community, too much focus on marks and test results, and not enough focus on extracurricular, and also having your boy be able to have a conversation with an adult. And having a conversation with an adult is very different from preparing and coaching him for an interview. Overly prepared and coached students do very poorly in interview situations because we're looking for authentic, true, sense of the boy. And when they're coached, it just doesn't go well. So I would say, you need your son to get a certain level of academic, a certain level on the test, beyond which more is not better. Then you should focus on other things. How does, what are his interests? Nurture those. And if it's music, great. But if you try music and he hates it and it's, difficult to get him to practice, then maybe you should try something else. Maybe it's drawing, maybe it's sports, maybe it's community service, maybe it's travel, maybe he has his own interests. So it's developing that other side, I think that sometimes is neglected.
Yeah. 那么像这个问题呢，我觉得就是我们尤其是中国的家长朋友们，我们一定要注意啊，就是说任何一所顶私，包括像 Crescent School， 他们在面试的时候呢，是既面试学生又面试家长，而且是单独分开的。所以如果你的孩子在面试的过程当中，或者是说在申请的材料当中展示出来的是一种就是过度的包装、过度的准备、过度的训练，那么呈现的并不是他真实的自己，这个是非常非常致命的。那么我也想在这里跟大家讲，我们瑞思学这么多年来能够跟那么多的顶级私校的招生官办这样的就是讲座和说明会，就是因为我们这么多年来送进这些学校的学生，他们真的能够使自己在进入学校后的品行样子还有各方面的能力发展和他们当初面试的时候是一模一样的。我们瑞思学在给这些学校输送学生的时候，我们本的理念就是一定要真实，一定要让孩子能够找到属于他自己真正的那束光，让那束光不仅照亮他自己，也照亮他周围人。所以在这个方面，就是大家一定要清楚，就是让孩子有控制力，让孩子觉得他对自己是谁，对自己想要做什么有这种控制力，他是有这个能力去聚焦自己周围的能量，去排除负能量，去吸收正能量，而这个所谓的正负他自己可以去做主。那么这样呢，你才能够让孩子在面试的过程当中真正的脱颖而出。Thank you, Dave.
And Maggie, I'll add one more thing. I would say applying when your son is not yet ready for Crescent. That's a common mistake I'll see from Chinese applicants. And I would say the best person to ask is Maggie, because So if your son arrives in Toronto in September and you're applying in October for the following year and it's his first year in English, he's probably not going to be ready yet. But Maggie would be able to give you feedback and say, hey, maybe 2 years at this school or 3 years at this school, and then let's try for Crescent.
Thank you so much, Dave. 所以刚才 Mr. Shaw 就是正好啊，就应和了我刚才给大家就是多讲的几句建议，就是说你的孩子如果没有准备好，不要申请，尤其是我们一些新移民家庭刚刚来到多伦多，才落脚2个月，孩子英文都讲不利索，本地的课堂都还没听懂，然后呢就啪啦啪啦的四处找中介也好，找这个顾问也好啊，把我们送进 Crescent， 把我们送进 Crescent。其实你这个时候有没有明白，你送进孩子，把孩子送进去的不是天堂，是地狱。你有没有明白，你的英文能力根本没有达到这个能力的时候，孩子的各方面都会受到很大的挫折。一个孩子到一个学校听不懂，交不了朋友，你去试试看。所以像这种情况下，就是刚才 Mr. Shaw 也再次的推荐我们瑞思学啊，希望大家如果在这方面不确定自己的孩子是否有这个能力进入这样的顶级私校，把它读好的话，来找我们瑞思学的各位导师，请我们给我们一个机会啊，让我们瑞思学给大家做一下这样的服务，给你们测评一下，评估一下。如果孩子还没有准备好，我们耐心心的尽心尽力的去慢慢培养他，等到他准备好了，我们申请一击就中。Thank you, Dave.
All right. And then the last question here, does Crescent look at parents' English skills during the interview? How much English does Crescent expect their applicant parents to have? Would Crescent help provide a translator or trust that the family have their own translator if they need it? So I would say for us, it's important that that one parent is working on their English skills so that they can be functional in English. We don't expect fluency in English, especially when a family first applies, but we do want to see at least one parent working towards functional English. And you can bring a translator with you, but we would rather you muddle through and struggle and to communicate in an interview setting, because you are the ones we're partnering with. You are your son's first teachers. And so it's so important at Crescent, that home school partnership. We value it. That's an essential component.
Yeah. Dave 刚才回答大家的问题就是说，他回答的特别真诚啊，就是说你可以带翻译，但是呢，他们会特别希望2个家长当中至少有一个家长会一些基础的日常沟通的英语，因为这样呢，就是可以方便他们日常打电话给你，或者孩子在学校有什么事情的时候打电话给这个家长，能够进行很有效的沟通，因为很多时候出现紧急情况的话，没办法一下子找到一个翻译，那么你在面试的过程当中，如果要请一个翻译，他们也不反对啊。但是呢，就是说，大家需要明白，他们对你的期待值是至少有一个家长要会基础的日常英语的这个沟通能力。那么这个方面呢，我们也很欢迎，就是说各位家长朋友们，如果不确定你的英语能不能过Crescent 的这个家长面试的这一关，也欢迎你们来找我们瑞思学，加我们所有瑞思学导师的微信啊，包括公众号里面的我们小助手的微信，我们可以来帮您看一看您的英语是不是可以顺利的给孩子加分，而不是呢拖孩子的后腿。Dave, we have a question,
Sure.
Yes. We have one more question. So the first question is, how big are your average classes, especially in grade 6?
Is this okay that we stop sharing?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Our average, in a normal year, our average class is 20 or less, but this year it was 15. So we'll be planning. Now, we expect to be back at school in September, but just to be smart, we're planning for smaller classes. But we do expect to be face-to-face learning.
Okay, wonderful. 一般来说，他们如果在非疫情期间，他们的班级的人数是20个人。今年呢和去年呢，因为疫情就是15个人。那么但是就是说，今年9月份班级人数会多少，还要看疫情的情况而定。但是他们的这个师生的比例是，就是说非常非常好的，应该是属于顶级私校的这个最高的那种级别的师生配比。The second question, how does Crescent support boys with interest in science and STEAM?
Well, Okay. That's probably one of our greatest strengths, actually. I didn't speak about robotics and science and technology, computer science much today, but Crescent is renowned for that. And so we run right from grade 3 through 12. So we align, for instance, programming. We start with computer science and programming with young boys in grade 3. We teach them robotics in grade 5 and 6. That continues all the way up through upper school, through to grade 12. So that technology course that I described to you is actually, the boys would call it robotics, but it's more than robotics, because there's elements of computer science in it. There's manufacturing. We have our own lab where we build and design everything, CAD. So STEAM is it's probably the greatest academic strength at Crescent, and robotics is one way we teach that, but certainly not the only pathway. And we offer it curricularly and extracurricularly. So it's when we have a program that we really value, we do them both in the class, so you can take it as a subject, and outside of the class, so you can do it after school or before school. And the guys who are obsessed with it do both. But maybe you're an athlete and you want to play sports, but you also love science and robotics and you want to do that, then you can take it as a course, and it'll be programmed into your day.
Okay. Wonderful. 所以刚才我们这位叫 Eddie 的家长问的问题 ，Dave 笑了啊，因为他觉得这个是 Crescent 真正的最强的地方，可以说是多伦多最强的，因为他们在这个就是教育男孩子们这个课程体系当中，3年级就开始学编程了。那么等到5年级的时候呢，6年级就开始学机器人。那么这个是全校的学生都可以学的，他这个东西是在他的这个所有学生的这个必修课和选修课里面的。到12年级你一直会学。他刚刚举个例子，比方说在课堂当中你要学这个 science， 然后你下了课之后，课后有很多的课外活动，你也是可以去学的。所以呢，像在现在的这个就是我们整个的这个我们 Crescent 的课程体系当中我们需要知道，如果一个孩子比方说有很多的运动项目，那么他也可以把这个机器人或者是把编程作为一个必修课来选修，然后这个过程当中怎么样跟他自己的这个运动的课程去进行一个结合，像这些也是可以得到老师的深度指点的。So Dave, the next question, is there a sister school that Crescent School does activities with? Said Clement.
Yes, well, there's a number actually. The 2 girls' schools that are in closest proximity to Crescent are St. Clement's and Havergal. And so we do a lot of things with them, but we also partner with girls from Branksome and BSS. So we do everything from, we'll do some curricular partnership. We're actually looking to run some courses where there'll be co-ed in the future. So that's one of the things we're looking at, where maybe you could take grade 12 English with girls from Havergal. But things like where we'll study the same novel and then we'll meet with those girls and discuss. We have some co-ed sports teams. We have co-ed, for instance, Model UN, which is a very competitive program at Crescent, and debating, where we'll go in competitions. DECA, a business program, where we'll go in competitions and enter into some co-ed competitions. So we'll partner with girls' schools. We'll do play, theater. My daughter did a 2-week trip to Colombia, a service trip with St. Clement's. And St. Clement's partnered with Crescent and sent boys and girls from both schools to Colombia to do outreach and service for 2 weeks. That was a life-changing trip for my daughter, and she got to meet some pretty terrific boys from Crescent. So there's a number of things.
Yeah. 大家可以看到我们现在这个首先就是我们这个屏幕上打出来的是我们瑞思学导师们的这个二维码啊，那么请大家在我们会议待会马上结束之前先加上我们导师们的二维码，我们很愿意为大家做一些前期咨询的活动。那么刚才呢 Dave 在这个就是回答这个问题当中就是指出了我们 Crescent School 的地理位置就在这个 Midtown， 也就是我们 多伦多的这个市中心啊，就是真的是市中心啊那个地方。那么周围呢有 Havergal 有 St. Clement， 还有包括他自己的女儿刚刚从 St. Clement School 毕业，刚刚就是在1年前吧。一个2周的一个社会实践活动去哥伦比亚，那么在那里呢，经历了一些非常有意义的，让他终身难忘的一些事情，甚至就是改变了他很多的人生观和价值观。那么像如果说是您的孩子到了12年级，特别想跟女孩子一起学习的话，你也可以跟他们是跟 Havergal一起共享12年级的英语的这个教学资源，包括课堂的一些共享，所以有很多机会，包括模拟联合国啊，还有包括戏剧啊，包括商科的这些竞赛啊，他们都是跟周围的这些女校一起进行互动啊，一起进行搞很多活动啊，所以真的不用担心啊，我是觉得男孩子如果说可以读男校的话，可能就是你唯一能抓住的机会就18岁之前，因为你到了大学再也没有办法体会，就是男孩子们在一起，就是虽然有一些傻乎乎的，但是呢，你不会被自己喜欢的女生嘲笑啊，这也是很重要的。那么接下来一个问题就是 David, it's about open house. Will this year open house be taking place at campus?Will interviews still be online, or will there have any possibility?
It will be, I highly suspect it will be virtual open house and virtual interviews. And I was on a call today with about 7 or 8 of my colleagues, directors at other independent schools, both boys schools and girls schools and some co-ed. And almost everybody said the exact same thing. So I think across the board, we're probably going to be doing interviews via Zoom.And probably open houses via Zoom.
Yeah, 就是这边就是open house 也会继续在线形式，面试也会继续在线。因为今年的疫情虽然慢慢在好转，但是呢，因为学校要让学生们能够面授课，所以呢，要尽可能的保护学校里面的老师和学生们都足够的安全，那个是他们的重中之重，首要的最重要的，不能有任何的闪失和妥协，所以可能就是还是就是在线的形式。Okay, Dave, the very last question, last 2 questions. I see on your website that you're offering summer camps. Are you expecting to be able to host campers in person or on campus?
We are, yes. So we do expect to have summer campers on campus. And recently the Ontario government suggested that was to be the case. So we're planning for that. Last year, we ran our summer camps all virtual. So we can easily adjust, but we do plan on having boys and girls on our campus this summer.
OK, 所以是的，今年暑假会有这个夏令营的形式，那么而且是男孩女孩都可以参加啊，特别好。那么因为安省的卫生局就是已经都通过了，就是可以让他们今年暑假进行这种面对面的 summer camp， 因为去年都是在线上的啊。Okay, does Crescent have special requirements on boys' characters and admission process?
No, I wouldn't say special requirements. I would say one thing that I really value, and I know we really value, would be we would value academic curiosity and love of learning over grades and results. And so that's the kind of thing that comes through in an interview. A boy who has got a passion and loves to learn. You don't have to love everything. And let's be honest, none of us love everything. We all got to pick and study what we like and not do what we don't like. And unfortunately, when you're young and you're in school, it's good and it's bad. We make you do everything, right? And not every boy loves everything. But so I look for that love of learning and curiosity, I would say are 2 great traits. And then empathy.
Empathy,
kindness.
OK, yeah. 大家记一下这几个词，我觉得很重要啊。就是第一个好奇心，就是是不是有一种很强烈的探索欲；第二个呢，就是是不是爱学习； 是不是愿意去学习？第三个呢，就是同理心啊，包括这个善良，这几点呢，都是他们在面试的过程当中会着重的去考察的。那么，还有一个就是在考察这些方面呢，他们会把孩子的这些特点呢，就是说都要了解清楚。所以他刚刚再次强调，他们并不是只重分数的学校，也并不是说把分数看得比这些品格养成要更重要的学校，他们认为这些品格才是真正的基石。Okay, so here's the question. With the large donation that you just received, will grade 7 to 9 families be expected to make more donations? Hilarious.
Like very few people can write checks for $12 million. No, what we do expect this though, and I'll tell you what we expect of our faculty and staff. So I'm considered staff, and then faculty would be the teachers. We expect all of our staff and faculty to give, each to their own capacity. And so we start with us. So I give payroll deducted to Crescent. And so it's a donation. I give to other charities too. But Crescent is one of the charities that I make a priority. And so that's all we ask of parents. Can Crescent be in your top 3 philanthropic priorities while your son's at Crescent? And then give to your capacity.
Yeah. 这个问题我觉得问的也很有意思啊，就是家长说，哇，你们刚收那么大一笔捐款，是不是会要7年级、9年级的家庭做更多的捐赠啊？那刚才 Mr. Shaw 说了，首先呢，他很想告诉大家，不光是家长们会被期待尽自己的所能做捐赠，学校的老师、员工，他是属于员工，他不是属于教师啊，那么因为他的编制是员工编制，不是教师编制，不管是员工还是教工，都要在每年自己的工资单上啊，尽自己的所能去做一部分的捐赠。他自己呢，也是不光是捐赠自己所工作的学校 Crescent School， 他也捐赠很多其他的机构。但是他刚才跟大家讲，如果你的孩子在 Crescent 上学，那么至少你在家庭捐赠计划里面的前3个机构里面得要包含 Crescent School 吧，对吧？因为这个就是说是跟你的家庭教育息息相关的一个机构啊。Okay.Would 12 to 18-year-old boy be benefiting from this large expansion? Oh, about the new building.
Hard to say. A 12-year-old maybe, it's probably not going to, in the next 3 years, something's not going to get built. But I will say that we have other plans and we have other announcements to make. And I can't say them to you.But I suspect this fall, we will have more very exciting news. That's all I will say.
OK，就12岁到18岁，我们来讲12岁啊，因为在未来的3年内，这栋楼会被建成或者改造成什么，大家都不知道啊。它也现在真的是无可奉告，它能够告诉大家就是，请大家尽情就是关注 Crescent School， 大家一定要关注 Crescent School， 因为今年的9月份应该就会有更加让大家激动人心的消息公布，大家会看到非常非常让大家开心的一些消息。Yeah, so as you said, thank you, love the mystery. Okay.
Anything else, Maggie?
Yeah, I think we've answered all the questions. It's amazing. Thank you, Dave. I've even learned a lot from this seminar. Every year you can always tell us something new, something very, very impressive.
Well, Maggie, can I just say one thing about partnering with you and the families on the line? Maybe you're in Beijing or Shanghai or Hong Kong or Shenzhen or somewhere else, and you're thinking of a plan to Toronto. When you come here, you want to partner with somebody you can trust, somebody who's going to give you honest feedback and is going to coach you to make the best decisions possible for your child. And I can't think of a better person than Maggie and her team. Why I love working with Maggie is because Maggie is an educator first. She's a teacher. and she cares about kids, and that comes through. And so she is going to help you and coach you, and it may not be a straight linear success. Sometimes I'll work with a family with Maggie and it will take 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years for them to get into Crescent. But she's going to partner with you, and you're going to get a honest feedback and coaching, and you won't get that from everybody. And if I was going to move to China and relocate my family and try and pick a school and try and make a life for myself, I would want somebody there to tell me the truth, and, you know, be a good coach and partner. And so great relationships are built on trust and respect and honesty. And that's what I have with Maggie. And so that's why I keep working with her. And so that's why I think you should work with her too.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. 刚才 Mr. Shaw 讲了，就是这么多年来，他为什么跟我们瑞思学有那么多的信任和互相彼此之间的这种就是合作，主要是因为我们瑞思学不仅是我，包括我所有的我们其他的导师、首席导师，我的合伙人Sherry 老师、Jean 老师，还有包括这个我们的项目管理老师 Joy 老师，还有 Carrie 老师、Lucy 老师我们所有的瑞思学的理念就是要真诚的给大家最好的建议，就是要能够给你最实实在在的帮助能够让你看到你带着孩子来到多伦多这个城市，不管是新移民还是老移民你怎么样能够给孩子一个最适合他的教育，能够真正的对每一所学校有更好的了解。就是我说的，当我们把一个又一个的学生送到这些顶级私校的时候，他们也在反过来在看我们的学生在申请的过程当中和他们的就读过程当中是不是同一个人你的面试是不是同一个就是形象。这也是为什么我们瑞思学这些年在整个多伦多能够有在这么多顶级私校当中有那么好的口碑也是要感谢像 Mr. Shaw 一样的大招官对我们的教学和教师背景的这个认可。Thank you, Dave.It's so nice to have you tonight, and I know it's a lovely weekend. You should have fun with your family in your college, but you choose to stay here, and I wish you all the best. And it's really our honor to have you. Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Maggie, and thanks to everybody on the call. We so value our relationship with our Chinese families. And we're grateful. Canada's better for you. Toronto is better for you, and Crescent is better for you. We need bright, motivated, talented people coming to Canada. And so we're so grateful, and happy Saturday.
Yes, thank you. 刚才 Dave 说了欢迎大家，不管您在北京、在深圳、在上海今天参加我们的讲座，欢迎您来多伦多。所以我们多伦多本地的家庭、男孩子家庭们，欢迎你们去申请 Crescent School。祝大家明天周末愉快。Thank you, Dave. Bye.
Bye.